Perfect. So a warm welcome. If you need anything from me throughout these classes, I encourage you to unmute. If you do not want to speak up, I totally get that. It's a very friendly crowd here if you're new. So we all kind of just be ourselves and ask questions if we need it. Because if you have a question, you likely, somebody else probably has the same question. So keep that in mind. If you would like a copy of the recording from tonight's class, please drop your email in the chat below, and I'll take care of that for you. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. And I'll be painting with you every step of the way.
I do have a quick question.
Of course.
How do I find a folder once our class is done?
You need to click on the link now and have it up and open.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I encourage you all to kind of click and open that folder, maybe copy or maybe bookmark the folder in your browser. At least maybe open it now. That's probably the best thing that you can do. All right. So throughout tonight's class, I encourage you to incorporate any of your own ideas. Our inspiration are these two, I call them they're like ghost friends, and they're going trick-or-treating and something has really spooked them out. So you can definitely use your imagination. You can evolve this any way that you want, but I love this inspiration. You also have a special treat this month. I splurged and I bought you all black canvases. It's Halloween, October, like how fitting. If you see any shiny marks on my canvas, I actually got white paint on mine and I kind of touched it up. So if you see any funky spots, that's what it is. Yours should be in nice and clean shape. But black canvases with these spooky white ghosts. We'll put a little blue haze in the sky. It'll look quite fun. So I hope you all enjoy the black canvases. We don't always have black canvases, but this was a fun treat for us. All right. So let's go ahead and jump in. So one of the first decisions that you get to make as an artist tonight is, what is the orientation of your picture? Now you could go either orientation tonight. You could do the ghosts here in the middle. You could do lots of ghosts. You could do lots of pumpkins. This is where you kind of do you. I'm going to do vertical tonight, but if you wanted to flip it, you absolutely can. My ghosts are going to be pretty big in scale. So my goal, talking through planning a little bit, is we'll start with the background first. The blue is kind of fading into the black, but my ghosts are going to take up this whole middle part, and I'm going to leave a black buffer around the ghosts. So the ghosts are kind of in the middle. That's my intent for tonight. You, as your own artist, you can figure out what you want your ghost positioning to be, the shapes, the sizes, all of that. But we'll go ahead and jump in. So one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to paint the background. And the background is going to be blues and blacks kind of mixed together. So you could do a gradient, you could do just blue. So go ahead and open your blue paint and put about a thumbnail's worth of blue on your palette or on your plate and a little bit of black. And they could be near each other. They could be kind of further away. It doesn't matter. And we're going to have a little fun creating this background color. And everyone received 5 brushes. You received a big brush, a couple medium-sized brushes, and a couple smaller detailed brushes. We'll be primarily using like the big brush for the background, maybe medium-sized brushes for the ghosts, and then we'll use some of the smaller brushes for the trick-or-treat bag and some of the shading on the ghosts. So I'm going to start with a little bit of blue, and I'm going to put a little bit of blue at the top of the canvas. And this is punchy, which is totally fine. I'm going to probably bring a little bit of black into it. But you can do some nice, smooth, horizontal brush strokes. And I want this blue to kind of fade into the black. Now, we don't need to paint the entire background. So I'm bringing in just a little bit of blue. You can barely see this on my screen, but I promise there's blue up there. There we go. Let me move this up a little bit. So it's the lighting, but you can see there's blue right here. I'll hold it down here for a minute. So you can see the more you do some nice smooth brush strokes, this is going to blend the blue right into the the black background, which is really quite cool. So you can see when you first put the blue paint on your canvas, it's going to be brighter. But if you move this around or even dip your brush in a little bit of water, this will move that right around. And I'm just going to work this in. And I'm going to have more blue at the top of my canvas. I love how this blends into the black. You can dip your brush in a little bit of water and use that water on your brush to move around the blue paint.
Excuse me, Megan, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I just joined. I had to finish up work. I saw you put a blue stripe somewhere. Did I miss anything else?
No, you're good. We're just applying blue paint to our canvas, to the top
Okay.
part.
Okay, it looks like just like it's the whole top or just middle at the top?
I'm kind of going top down, and I'm just going to do as much kind of as I see fit here.
Okay,
So,
all right, thank you.
Yeah, you could do as much or as little as you want to.
Pure blue big brush, correct?
Yes, exactly. And I'm really working
I-
it in so it can blend right into the black.
Okay,
Can I ask you a question? I put in this blue on and it just looks black. Am I supposed to add white to it or something?
You're welcome to add a little bit of white to it if you want to. Absolutely. If your blue is really dark, you're welcome to add a touch of white. Absolutely.
Ugh.
It's absolutely up to you. And you all have the Failio. I actually, let's see here. Everyone is, oh, there's Miss Renee, welcome. You can do any type of transition you want here. If you wanted to use a little bit of white mixed in, you can. Your background can be anything you want it to be. If your paint isn't moving around, you can add a touch of water to your brush. And I am just going back and forth, back and forth.
Megan, this is Terry, and I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm having technology problems. I'm going to quit and try to log back in a minute to see, because I can't see you right now. So
Okay,
I'm going to sign out and sign back in.
I will let you right back in. No worries. All good. So I'm going to do from the bottom down. I have a couple of spots on here. I'm just going to kind of cover some black with down here on the bottom because I have some spots. But for anyone on the call, you can do a little bit of a transition. So a little black and a little blue on your brush, just to transition the blue down. So it transitions to, it kind of changes gradients to a blue to a black. So to do a transition, you could do blue and black on your brush and just do nice, smooth, horizontal brush strokes to have it be faded in. So you can see I just have more blue at the top. Maybe this is the brighter part of the sky, because down here, for me, it's going to be all black. If folks want to do more blue throughout the whole background, that's totally fine. I'm just showing you in the light. Yeah, you can see the blue, and you can see I did a bluish black transitioning down. Quite fun. So take a few minutes just to paint the background any colors that you want it to be. This is really where you do you. This background can be anything. But this is going to kind of set the scene for the ghost. And we do want this to dry. So if you have a lot of paint, if it seems really wet, take your brush and just work it back and forth, left and right. That will help move the paint around so it dries more quickly. Because we do need the background to dry before we do the ghost. Very important. So for me, I'm not adding any more paint, but anywhere that it seems to be wet, I'm just going back and forth. It's kind of like moving it around so it dries more quickly. This is where it
What
can
is the
be.
purpose of the blue? Can we just put the ghost on the white background?
You should have received a black canvas.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's what I mean. Can't we just put the ghost on the black background? What's the purpose of the blue?
The blue is, because in the top of the inspiration, it has a little bit of blue up there.
Oh, I see. Thank you.
So it's optional. Yeah, it's all good. If folks don't want to paint the blue, you don't have to. I liked a little bit of the blue at the top, just to add a little warmth, but just to add like a little bit of a change in color. It's more of a coolness, but yeah, you can leave it just black if you want to. That's fine too. Absolutely. So I'll give everyone just a minute to kind of, if you want to wait to not paint the background, you don't have to. I'm going to let mine dry for a minute. You can see it's a little wet. You can kind of pick your canvas up and wave it around, and we'll do a little bit of our ghost planning as this dries. So just take a minute to finish up this part. Just for awareness, I didn't paint like the bottom part black. If you see it and you want to bring the black all the way down, you can. That's not a big deal. So you can decide that or not. You could just take a little bit of water. These canvases are only 8 by 10. So if you wanted to take a little water and a little black paint, just so the texture on the background's consistent, you could. That won't hurt anything. It might bother some people might just not, you might not care. It's okay. Either way. I'm just going to do a little bit so it's a little consistent, and it's drying. So if it looks wet, that means it's wet. But as it starts to dry, you'll be able to see that canvas again. And I'm painting on the same one that you are tonight. And running your brush back and forth. This is where you can take your time. We're in no rush tonight. This is time for you. I just have a little bit down here. I'm just going to cover really quick. And I love these ghosts. They're fairly eclectic in design. And if your paint is wet, just do a few brush strokes from the left to the right to help it dry. And we're using acrylic paint tonight, so it will dry pretty quickly, but it will take a couple minutes. So I'm at the point where I'm going to stop touching it, which some of you may be already there. And you can see the bottom half of mine is a little wet. The top is like getting pretty close. This is where you can kind of like wave your canvas around. If you haven't yet, I will repost the links if anybody wants to share. One second. If anybody wants to share tonight's painting after, I will, let's see here. You can drop a photo of your painting tonight or previous classes in this folder. Take a minute to click and open the folder. And I can even see if anybody's dropped anything in there already, which is kind of fun. But take a minute to open that folder so you have access to it for the next class. All right, nobody's put anything in there yet. Excellent. So Joan, you mentioned a note that you haven't received your supplies. There was a couple people that didn't get the supplies in time. You should get them soon, over the next day or two. And if you are interested in attending the Sunday class, please send me your email, Joan, and I'm happy to send you the details for the Sunday class. Okay, perfect. All right. So we want this to be fairly dry. Kind of wave it around for a minute. And then we can get our white ready to do the ghost outlines as our next step. So to do our ghost outlines, I'm going to do 2 ghosts, and they're going to be pretty big. They're going to be kind of right next to each other, and I'm going to leave like an inch of margin all the way around the edge. And the ghosts, we'll do the outline for the ghosts first, and then we'll fill them in together, which will be quite fun. So once you're done with this big brush in the background, just go ahead and clean it really well. A little bit of brush care. You can clean these brushes with, kitchen sink, dish soap and water and then rinse them really well. And then you can let them dry out overnight. And that will keep them going. For the ghost itself, you can use the big brush or you can use the medium brush that I sent. So there's 2 medium-sized brushes. You can use either. I have like a round tip number 6. There's small gold numbers on the sides of these brushes. You may not have this brush, but anything the next size down from the big one should be fine for the ghost shapes. And we're going to slowly transition. Some people's backgrounds might be wet still. That's okay. We'll transition slowly. You can open your white paint when you're ready. And we're going to use the medium brush and we're going to do an outline of our ghosts. And I'll guide you through the placement, etc. So you get your brush a little bit wet. So the ghosts, they're going to have legs on them. So your ghosts are going to be floating. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of planning. My ghost on the left is going to be a little taller. So I'm going to put a little dot up on the top where I want the top of my ghost's head to be. And it's over here. And I'm going to do another ghost. And I'm going to do the top of this ghost's head over here. This will kind of help us shape our ghosts as we do this. So this is the top of one head and this is the top of another. So ghost heads are, these ghost heads aren't touching. So if you want your ghost heads to be touching, you can kind of make it close to one another. But I'm going to do a ghost head here. And it's kind of long and skinny on top. And then as you come out to the side, it's just going to get a little bit wider, but you're going to come down. And then it's going to kind of swoop in a little bit. Imagine a sheet that's kind of draped. And if your black is a little bit wet still, it's okay. But I'm just going to bring this down and this is going to be my first ghost. Our ghosts are going to be overlapping a little bit, so that's okay. And you can kind of do your outline, play with your ghosts. You can slowly start to fill it in. If the bottom of your canvas is a little wet, you can kind of start at the top, but make sure the black is dry first. You can slowly fill in your ghost once you have an outline in. You can always modify that outline too. That's no big deal. And I'm just doing some gentle brush strokes coming down. And we'll do a second coat of white on these ghosts, but just take a minute to fill this in. And as we're doing this, if you wanted to kind of add in a few lines, kind of connecting to give it a little dimension, you could do that and fill it in like there's some ruffles in the sheet. You could play with this texture a little bit and even hold some space to see where that line is. This will help with some of our shading. So if you wanted to do these lines and leave little gaps in between just to see where the pleats are. We'll come in with some shaded areas, some shaded colors, some grays, but you can play around with this just a little bit. See how I left a little bit of a line right there? If you wanted to do that, you could. You don't have to, but one of the things I love teaching in these classes is just different approaches and different ways of painting an object. You could have filled this in all white, which is fine, but you can intentionally leave dark space to create shading, and that's kind of what we're doing here a little bit. Now, if your black is coming through, down here was a little bit wetter for me. That's why you can see it's a little more gray. That's all right. We're going to let it dry and we'll do another coat. No big deal. So it's just having a little bit of patience and having fun along the way, but kind of creating a little bit of these swoops to create a little bit of movement in the ghost is fun. And then if you wanted the ghost to be huddling, you can kind of do your your next outline. There we go. This one's going to come down straight, and we're going to put legs on the bottom, which is quite fun. And this ghost, maybe the bottom of this ghost will be a little bit different. Maybe it'll come down in front a little bit. You can try to make these a little uneven down here. So where the bottom of the ghost sheet is per se, make this a little uneven. It'll make it look more natural. Whether you have to lean back in your chair. Maybe we do some lines, like there's pleats happening. And we can do more of this, but you can play with how this may fall on the ghost. We'll put arms in on top after. So we're really just doing our ghost. We'll do arms in after, which will be fun. But we're just getting our base ghosts down. And they could be touching each other. It's okay. We'll put in some grays to really separate them after. So it's okay to get these base colors in. If you wanted to leave like a little bit of a gap next to some of these lines, whether it's on the right side or the left side, it may help you see those pleats. So I'm just leaving like a little black gap. For me, I'm doing it to like the left side a little bit. But you can play with this technique. So I'm just leaving a little bit of a gap. You could try that if you wanted to, as you fill in your ghosts. But our ghosts are going to have lots of shaded colors. So we're going to use gray with our ghosts to fill them in once we're done with the white. Tonight's inspiration is simple visually, but there's a lot of technical detail that we all get to practice together tonight. We get to practice this gray shading and this white highlighting on these ghosts, which is quite fun. And I will coach you through each of these steps. See, I'm leaving a little bit. We can come in, cover some of this up with gray, but this is just a fun way to see those layers, see the folds in these ghosts outfits. These are real ghosts, of course. These aren't trick-or-treaters, but they could be trick-or-treaters. You could make them trick-or-treaters if you want to. But sometimes it's fun to paint something a little lighthearted. And you can see my lines. Things are drying, and that's okay. So while my ghosts are drying down here, I am going to start at I'm going to do a second coat on this ghost on the left. You may not be here yet. It's okay, but do a second coat anywhere it's dry. Second coat of white. And this will really make your ghost kind of jump off the screen. And I send extra white for everyone. So you had plenty. But take a deep breath and just settle in to the exercise. Art can be relaxing if you allow it to be. The more you paint, the less you will think. I promise that. And it's not in a way where you're not paying attention to what you're doing. It just becomes a little bit easier on your mind to just let go and just be in the moment, to look at the object and to fill it in whatever way that you wish. It's quite fun. It's liberating once you get there, and I'm sure many of you are. Nice. I have 2 tissues on my canvas. Thrilling tissues I have here. All right. So some of you might be like, Megan, my white is too wet to paint the second coat. I feel you. This is a little wet down here. I'm going to take a minute to let that dry. If anybody wants to take a little break with me and let this dry, we can put in some yellow stars in the sky, which is a great treat. And we can always do some legs too. So there's plenty of elements for us to do. We're going to take our time with these ghosts because we want them to dry entirely, us to add 2 full coats. But we have to sometimes be a little patient in the process. And tonight's class is one of those. But if anybody in the meantime wants to take a little bit of yellow paint and a little bit of white and add some stars to the sky, you're welcome to. In the inspiration, there is a pumpkin on top of the ghost head. I'm not going to do that tonight, but if you would like to add a pumpkin to the top of the ghost head, you could. But I am going to add yellow stars, which will be really quite fun. But I'm going to take a little bit of yellow paint and a scoop of white and make a light yellow. And this you can do when you're ready. I am killing time. Sometimes we switch gears in these classes to let one area dry and we do something else.
Excuse me, what size brush are you using, Megan?
I'm using a small brush. Use the smallest brush I gave you. This is a 2/0 fraction brush, but use like the 2/0 or a number 1 or a number 2, whatever the smallest size is. Yep, good question. Any small brush of choice. And then I'm going to do stars kind of halfway, the top half. And I'm just going to paint, I'm actually going to do stars, like legit stars.
What size brush did you use for the white? Because I'm using the one for the white. Was that too small?
Ooh, you can use whatever brush you want.
No, but it's taking me longer, so I should have
Yes,
been on a
ma'am.
bigger
So
brush.
use a little bit bigger of a brush for the white.
Okay.
Yep, any size brush for the white that's like a 4 or 5 or a 6, whatever you want, but definitely a medium sized brush for the white for sure. It will get it done more quickly for you. So take your time. I'm doing little 5-point stars. I'm doing actual stars tonight. I'm being a little eclectic. Little 5-point stars. And I'm just gonna and if you wanted to do some, other starred shapes, like if you wanted to do constellations or if you wanted to do little dots, sometimes folks like to just do little dots along the way too, to add like texture. You could add little dots in the sky as well. Again, halfway up is recommended, but this is your painting, so you can do whatever you wish. If you wanted to paint a pumpkin on the ghost head, you could do that. Let's move this up a little bit. Perfect. You can do little dots. And I'm kind of alternating high and low. One of the things I like teaching in my classes is whenever you're painting something, doing a balance of it. So a balance of a star here and a star there. So you can see I kind of spread my stars in a natural way. So it looks like they're all over. I do them on the top, on the bottom, on the side. If you wanted to do a constellation, you could do a constellation. I might do more tiny dots. It's just really being in the moment and filling the sky in any way that you wish. If you wanted to do a moon in the sky, you could do a moon. You could do a witch flying in the moon. There are so many possibilities. All the possibilities. All right, I'm just going to do stars for right now. I'm going to do little dots to fill in the sky. It's a starry night. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. So nice. Now I have tissues that are floating in outer space. How does that look? They're ghosts. I'm just kidding. All right. Everyone has tissues. All right. I'm excited to see everyone's ghosts. Very excited. Very excited. And I'll bring it a little closer. So fun. Again, our white is drying. We're all being really patient, right? Look at mine's still wet. I just stuck my finger in it. It's taking a little while. That's okay though. I want my stars to be extra bright. So I'm going to do a little second coat of yellow on my stars. Sometimes artists do second coats and they don't always talk about it, but this is where you really see that punch of color come through. And this is a great example of a really simple inspiration, kind of like I was saying before, but there's a lot of time that can go into these simple inspirations. It's the second coats, it's refining details. And again, we're letting our ghosts dry. I'm doing a second coat on some of my stars. Some of you may be adding a moon. I'm sure of it. Some of you are going to add a moon. That's such a cool idea. I did a Halloween class last night and I had a lady, we had big white moons and she drew a witch flying through the moon. It was like the most amazing idea ever. I was like, gold star for doing something different. All right. Well, I'm excited. I'm sure some of you are doing like maybe more than one ghost. I don't know. So let me do this. We'll have our first flip and reveal as our white is drying. If folks want to take a minute to show how far are you? How many ghosts do you have? Does anybody have a moon who wants to show off? Ooh, Bridget. Bridget has 2 ghosts, but that looks like one big tissue to me. I like that, Bridget. They're going to be really snuggling. Excellent, Gail. Awesome. Wendy, that looks great. Miss Renee, you've done this before. Look at those ghosts. There's Leslie. Awesome, Leslie. Terry. Oh, Terry did the moon. Awesome. Lori's playing with the dark colors. Awesome. Those look really good. Thank you. Everybody's doing so fun. I don't know. I am. Oh, here comes Sonia's. Sonia has just already started just to nail these shaded colors so far. Sonia, awesome job. Beautiful. All right, I'm going to re-spotlight my screen. Give me like a 1 more minute. If your white is still wet like mine, give me a 1 more minute. Give me a thumbs up if your white is actually dry. Mine is not dry yet. Yeah, I see thumbs and fingers. Okay, some of you have done second coat. Some of you haven't. All good. I'm going to go ahead and spotlight my screen again. We're going to let our white continue to dry. I'm happy with my stars for right now. So if folks want to take a minute to keep working on your stars, feel free. I'm going to switch down and do the legs for the ghosts while the bodies are drying, which will be really quite fun. So again, for me, I'm being patient and letting my ghosts dry as a first coat. And if I want to come back up and play with my sky, I can. But I'm going to add some legs to these ghosts. And the way that we're going to do that is this. We are going to paint white legs first. We're going to let the white dry. We're going to do black stripes in their socks after the white has dried. And we'll do orange shoes too. So using your small brush, we're going to use the white paint. So grab the smallest brush I sent you and kind of dry it off so it's not like dripping. We don't want there to be water for this part. And you can give your ghosts legs. So you want your legs to be obviously underneath the ghosts. So I'm going to turn this so it's a little closer to me. And you're going to do, you can do skinny legs. So I'm just going to do up 2 lines first. 1, 2, and then you can make these a little wider. And I'll put shoes on the underside. So make your legs even from a width perspective. Maybe do 1 ghost legs first so you know how wide you want the legs to be. Take your time. You can use your pinky to balance your hand. You can see I'm slowly making my legs a little wider. So these are they can be stockings, they could be socks. Whatever you want them to be. You could put cobwebs on these socks, however you want to decorate these legs, you can. I'm doing a nice slow brush stroke down. And I'm saving some room at the bottom of the legs for some orange shoes. Now I'm just taking my time. So the legs are filled in, but the edges are nice and straight. And you can kind of bring the ghost and you kind of like drape the ghost over. Like you can drape the ghost kind of over the leg so it doesn't look funny. So I can kind of bring this down a little bit and kind of cover up the leg a little bit. That's fine. We're going to bring in more grays anyways, but you can kind of cover up the top of the legs if they look funny. Don't worry about that. But try to make the legs even. That's the difficult part. Sometimes the legs get a little bit bigger when you try to make them even. That's why it's good to start skinny. Okay, those are fairly even. I'm going to add shoes after, but I'm going to let that white dry. I'm going to add the other legs over here. They're going to be fairly similar. They're going to hit fairly similar spots on the ground from a height perspective. So you can change where they end. And again, your ghost's sheet can kind of come draping over the top of the leg. Don't worry about that. You can always kind of refine that so it looks a little bit more natural, but getting those legs even is helpful. This part requires a little patience. We have all the time to work on these details, so all good. This inspiration is a classic. This could be one you bring out every Halloween. I encourage you to share this with your trick-or-treaters this year if you have trick-or-treaters. Hold this a little closer. I took my time and did nice, slow, smooth brush strokes. And they may not be perfect. I'm not worried about it. I'm going to let them dry. My ghosts are drying. I'm going to make an orange for my shoes. Whenever you're ready, there's no rush. To mix orange it's like 90% yellow with a touch of red. And I'm going to use a small brush for these shoes. I'm also going to add a little bit of white because we have a black background. So I'm going to make like a light orange shoe. So I'll show you what I'm going to do here. Red, yellow with a tiny touch of red, and add in a little bit of white. I had a little bit of this yellow right here with the white in it. That's good. The white will help hold and stand on top of the black. So having a little bit of white pigment is going to be our friend here for it to actually stand out. You can always add more like orangey on top if it's not, but that's a little bit of that. You can always add, again, second coat on top. You can do little shoes. And your shoes, these shoes are going to kind of point to the right a little bit. And these are simple shoes. And I'm still going to need a second coat here, ladies and gents. So do a first coat of the orange. Let it dry and then come back in and do a second coat. Painting on black, some of these like lighter colors, it's a little more tricky. And then these shoes are going to be facing, so for your ghosts to be like holding each other, the shoes on the left ghost are going to be facing the right, and the shoes on the right ghost are going to be facing the left. That means they're holding each other, all from the direction of their feet. You can give them little feet, you can give them big feet. one of my shoes is a lot bigger than the other, which is fine because I have black paint. That is why I provided you all black paint. Black is our eraser, ladies. So let something dry and then you can always paint over it. But this orange is going to need a second coat, so don't fret. See how the shoes are pieced this way and this way? So cute. Maybe there's children under these ghost costumes. You all could come up with your own stories of these ghosts today. Let your imaginations go wild. Sometimes it's fun to think about that. So one of my shoes is bigger than the other. I'm going to let it dry. I'm going to take my own advice here. And then you can always touch it up with a little bit of black. Not a big deal. Black is our friend. I'm coming in and I'm just reshaping this shoe. Oh, it looks so much better already. So if you want to reshape your shoes, go for it with a little bit of black. It's like a magic eraser sponge. Can fix anything. Nice. Look at that. Now I have perfectly shaped, simple shoes that are not, they have one coat of orange on them. Perfect. So again, we are intentionally letting our legs dry. My legs are almost dry, which means my ghosts should be almost dry too. So what we'll do is, if anybody wants to do the black stripes on the socks, if your socks are dry or leggings are dry, you can use one of your smallest brushes and you could do spider webs. You could do anything you want. I'm just going to do black stripes. You can do thick stripes. You could do non-thick stripes. You could do skinny stripes. These are all the details you get to just have fun with. Sometimes it's fun to play with these little details in these classes. Sometimes what we do is predictable, but sometimes you get to take a small brush and have a good time with some of these little things. I painted a haunted house yesterday, and we did a black haunted house with gold lit up windows inside. It was very similar detail work to this. So I encourage you, with any extra paints, you can always paint another Halloween scene if you want to do something else a little fun. But this is where we just slow down and we have some fun with these detail-oriented parts. And the slower we go, the happier we may be. And I'm going back and I'm using the tip of the brush so it's nice and fine pointed. And you don't want any water. That having a nice brush with some solid black paint on it will give you this nice pigment that we want for these stripes. And again, we're letting our ghosts dry respectively, as we're gonna come in and we're gonna really create some fun dimension with our ghosts with shading in just a minute. Opening, I think, cobweb tights. If anybody saw the new Hocus Pocus, their costumes were incredible. One of the characters had like pink cobwebbed, like a pink cobweb shirt on, or pink cobweb tights. And I'm like, that is so fun. I want to own pink cobweb tights for no reason, no good reason. But like, how much fun would it be to wear that? And I'm not even a big Halloween buff, but I would dress up for Halloween if I had some cool accessories like that. But if anyone in this room today, if you have any fun Halloween traditions, I would love to hear them. We'd love to share them with you. Feel free to use the chat, or you can unmute yourself as we're working on these details. We'd love to hear what fun Halloween traditions you may have. So fun. All right. I'm taking my time, as you all can see. That's part of the fun of it. Some of you may already be done with this step. That's okay. You can take a look at your ghost. And we'll work on some of the ghost details next. Even maybe with our black paint. Again, this black is our eraser. So if you wanted to reshape your shoes, kind of go around your shoes with a little bit of black paint to reshape them. Again, magic eraser miracle here. You can reshape your shoes. We also are going to do a second coat of orange. I'm going to let the orange on mine dry for another minute. I think they're pretty dry, but I'm just going to let them sit there. And if anybody wants to, I'm going to do the faces on my ghosts after. I'm going to have us, let's see. What we can do is we can add in the arms for our ghosts. If your ghosts are going to be kind of holding each other, I'll show you how to add a little bit of an arm. And we can do that using black paint. And then we can kind of come in and fill our ghosts. So if anybody wants to do arms for your ghosts, you can do this with me. We'll do the ghost on the left first. So there's a lower arm, kind of like on the underside of an elbow in the middle of the body. And in the middle of the body, the arm can come down and over. And it's rounded. So kind of think of like a rounded, kind of like an oven mitt. It's going to be rounded and it's going to kind of come over and hold. It's going to come into the other ghost. And this other ghost is going to have an arm kind of coming around and over. And they're going to kind of be holding one another. And this arm's going to be over here. So you can play with the position of these arms. This ghost on the left is maybe in the foreground. So maybe I will put a little bit of a line to separate the ghost here. A little bit of a black line. So you can kind of play with where you want these lines to be. If you don't like,
I'm sorry, are we putting in the arms before the second coat?
you can. Yep, if you want to, you can. I have more. We're going to do a second coat of white, but we're going to incorporate gray on our second coat as well. So you can put the arms in now if you want to. Absolutely. Because what we can do is we can fill inside the arms with more white, which will kind of allow that arm to kind of stand out a little bit. All progress. Absolutely. All right. So that's also a good opportunity for that black to dry. So we're in really good shape. My orange shoes need a quick second coat. So while the black is drying on the arms, you can fill in maybe a second coat on your shoes and then we'll shift back to the ghost. So it's all a little bit of a process with letting one coat dry, kind of bouncing around to another area. But this is what artists do. They work on something. Sometimes they go and get a cup of tea, they come back, but we're just bouncing around, same thing. And they do the same thing too. But you're all artists, so you all know that. And you can see a second coat for those shoes really allows those to stand out quite a bit. And you may even want a third coat. Just letting these dry, you can make some of those judgments. All right. So we'll slowly transition to doing a little bit of a gray. And we can even do a bluish gray. And this is going to reflect the shading for our ghosts. So the step that we're going to do next is you can see that there are white highlights on our ghosts and there's these darker shaded areas. What we're going to do is we're going to do the darker shaded areas and then we're going to do the additional white on top of that. So I want you to, we'll use a medium-sized brush of your choice. So not the biggest brush, but something of this a smaller size. try not to use like one of your teeny tiny brushes. So one of your medium size, like a 4 or 5 or a 6 would be a great choice for this next step. And we're gonna mix a grayish blue together. So white is our friend. So we're gonna take a scoop of white. I'm gonna get a little bit more. And you could just do a gray, but for me, I'm gonna add a little bit of blue. So it kind of matches. I have a little bit of blue in my sky. It's still gonna be a nice shaded color. I'm just getting a little bit more white. So I have a little bit of white right here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a tiny touch of black, mix that in. A little black will go a long way. And I want it to stand out. So for me, I'm gonna do a little bit more black. There we go. And I'm gonna do a tiny touch of blue. And just find a color that works for you. This is a bluish gray. Mix that around. And the nice thing is if you don't like this color, you can always mix another one. It's okay. So I'll hold this back. This is a bluish gray. I don't know how well you can see that. Me in person, there's a light blue, so there's a soft blue tinge to it, but it's a light gray basically. So what we're gonna do with this color is, we're gonna start with the ghost on the left. What you're gonna do is you're going to, about halfway down, you're gonna, even maybe on the right side, the left side of this ghost, we're just gonna slowly start at the top and just bring in a little bit of the shading. And do soft, gentle sweeps just to create a little bit of shading, and you'll start to see this darker contrast on my picture. And I'm going to gently sweep. If you wanted to leave a little bit of white on the edge, left edge of this ghost, you can. But for me, that's not enough contrast. Like we could barely see it. That means I'm going to make mine a little darker. So a little touch more black. And I might even, we'll see what a touch more blue looks like, but I want to see this shaded color. So for me, I can't see that on my white ghost, so I'm going to make it a touch darker. So play with your colors here. If yours is too dark, add a little bit of white to it. There we go. See how that is much better? So I'm going to do gentle brush strokes and I'm going to slowly blend this in. And I'm going to slowly blend it down. I'm doing like feather, lightly touching, just so it gets on nice and soft. This is more gray than blue. You could also dip your brush, ladies and gentlemen, in a little bit of your water, kind of wiping off some of your brush strokes. And what you're going to do is you're going to come in and create these layers for your shading. You're going to leave some white. So on each of these panels, the water is actually really helping to kind of manage the blending. But you're going to do on the left side, you're going to leave a little bit of white. So you're going to come in and fill in a little bit of this darker color. And before the next panel, you're going to leave the right side of this flap white. So you're going to go dark gray, white, dark gray, white, dark gray, white as you work your way across. And that will allow these panels, will allow this ghost to truly show a little bit of the shade within its coat per se. And the fun part is this, as you're adding the gray, if you want to come in and add more white, again, a second coat, you can bring in more white kind of on the right side of that panel. So it's fun to alternate between these to play with the shading. And I'll do this with you, and we can go nice and slow, but this is a great opportunity for you to play with adding a little bit of shade. So maybe on the right side of these panels, I have a little bit of white. And the right side of this ghost is going to be more white too. So basically, we're going to create these shaded spots. See how this right side is a little white. You can go back and forth, but we're doing a little bit of this darker gray on the left, even on these left panels, and we're doing a white highlights on the right side of these panels. And you can play with that a little bit. You can use water, you can use your brush. This is where we all are just experimenting. You can use your finger to blend. Oh, we have someone else that just joined. If somebody just joined, I'm just going to make sure folks are muted. Awesome. You can also use your finger, ladies, if you want, and gents, you can use your finger to kind of blend these two colors together. That's always helpful. Like if it looks like there's like one stark color in the other, put a little bit of paint down and then dab on, and then you can smudge it with your finger. But you can see what the shading is starting to do over here. And if you want to have more of a color contrast, I'll go a little more daring with the blue so you all can see it to see if you like it or not. I'm going to add a little bit more blue to this. Oh, you can't even see it on the camera. Let's see. So that's a little bit of the blue. I'm going to use my finger to smudge this in. This is on the left side of the ghost coat. You can also use a paper towel. So that's a little bit of blue. Isn't that cool? So you can play with that a little bit. But this is where, to the point of adding in a second coat, this is where you can kind of play with that second coat as well. But these ghosts are white. So again, the right side of these ghosts are going to be more of a stark white color. So it's just the left side of the coat and the left side. You could fill in that oven mitt, that arm, a little bit more white. But we'll do this together. There's no rush. It's fun to play with these steps. So again, the left side of these drapes. And if you don't want to do a lot of this, you don't have to. You can do as much or as little as you want. You can always change your mind. I think I just want more white, Megan. Then you could just do more white. That's totally fine. But you can do more white on the right side of some of these objects. Then you can blend them together. So if you have too much blue or too much gray, just know you can always change it. Acrylic is forgiving, it dries quickly. But you can see that darker line on the left side of these pleats to create that depth. I used blue. I was just getting a little crazy. All good. And then you can repeat and do the same thing on the other ghosts, but you want to flip sides. So the white can be on the left side of these panels and the darker side can be on the right. So it's kind of flip-flopped. And you can also fill your ghosts in with a second coat of white along the way. So I'm using just a little bit of white to kind of fill in the left side of these panels. I'm letting this ghost over here dry. It's okay again to bop things around. Want to make sure your ghost head is lighter on the interior and darker on the exterior. Because then we'll do our ghost face and we'll do all the accessories for our ghost once they're filled in entirely. You can always switch a brush. Bring a little closer so you can see. And I'm not entirely done over here. I'm just letting it dry, being playful. It's okay to do things in progress. Sometimes we make assumptions that, oh man, I don't know if I'm done. I don't know if I should add any more. It's all good. I'm playing with this gray, a little bit of gray. If you wanted to switch to a smaller brush, if you wanted to play with this blending, you can put a little bit of white, you can put a little gray and do it at the same time, just to soften that blend. So again, the right side of the ghost over here is going to have a little bit of a darker shade on the right. You'll play with this. I'm going to use a smaller brush, ladies and gents, for some of this edging detail with the shades. It might give you a little bit more control So I'm gonna use like a medium, like a smaller brush. You can play with this. This is one of the fun parts of class where you can kind of blend colors and refine. But if anyone needs any help, please let me know. And I may not like this blue. I might want to go back to gray. It's okay to change your mind. Remember to be kind to ourselves as we're experimenting. Art is always experimental. And I love demonstrating that in these classes is a little bit of fearlessness. We take ourselves awfully seriously most of the time. And art is a great opportunity just to try something new and kind of let go a little bit. And sometimes that's hard to do, but I think it's healthy to practice that opportunity. All right, so I'm using a combination of white and gray, and you can use your eye to play with this color. You can make the edges of the ghost skirt like a little more pointy in areas. That might help it make it look a little bit more natural. So if you wanted to make the edges like a little more pointy, like this is the edge, you could do that. Down here, I made this edge a little more pointy. You feel like it's too flowy. But everyone's doing awesome. And this is what tonight's class is about. It's about playing with this depth. It's about playing with the shadedness for our ghosts to come out. Now there is more shade on the underside of these arms too. So on the underside of these black lines, you can put a little bit of gray. I'm going to do a little gray and then I'm going to transition to a little bit of white. So I'm going to put a little gray on and then I'm going to immediately transition to a little bit of white. So it kind of blends down into the belly of the ghost. Because the belly of these ghosts, especially like where they're hugging each other, it is a little bit more dark in color. So you can reference that. And I am going to put in like a trick or treat bag in here. So like on top of some of this. So don't overthink it. The trick or treat bag is actually going to be a little further down. But you can see there's a little bit of a shaded area because these ghosts are kind of turning onto one another. So I added a little bit of extra gray on the belly of the ghost on the right, excuse me. But again, it's just playing with colors to create that shading. And I'm doing little sweeping brush strokes with a smaller brush to help with the blending. And I'm doing soft sweeps, kind of like I'm running a feather over someone's nose. And you can see your brush strokes change based on how hard you apply it on your canvas and not. So again, this is all just practice. Tonight's class is a little bit more technical, but I'm sure you're all doing an awesome job. One of my ghosts has more blue on it. One has a little more gray. Can figure out which one I like better. I think it's a little purple actually in the picture. I might get a little crazy and make it a purple and see if I like that. And again, you can change things. It's okay to change your mind on these colors. I'm going to change this to a purple. I'm really going to get crazy here for a Thursday night. Ooh, this purple looks really fun. And I can even dim this down a little bit with a little bit of gray. But I like that purple even better, ladies and gents. So this is where you have these epiphanies of like, oh, I love this color so much better than the other one. And that's because I was open-minded enough to change it and to try it. But I much prefer this purple compared to the blue. And it's because I wanted to try it. And some of you may not like this, and that's okay. All good. But this, I added a little red to my blue mixture is what I did. Dip your brush in a little bit of water and help blend that out. Doesn't always have to be a heavy pigment. You can use water to help smooth things over. Look how beautiful that soft purple is. It looks a little bit more galactic with the blue and the purples. It's quite fun. And this is a perfect example of experimentation. Having an idea and just going for it with a little courage. And I'm so glad I did. So fun. And I can add more white, right? It's all about layering, so I'm not worried about it. I am inspired to add a little of this purple to my ghost on the right. A little bit of this purple on the underside of its arm, on the inside of its belly. If anyone has questions, if you think I'm crazy, I welcome all comments. It's all good. I hope you're having fun with this one tonight. Did anybody try the blue or the purple? I would love to hear your feedback. I think you're all in the zone, which I totally respect.
I used a lot of more of a blue like your first one.
Yeah,
Me too, but then I painted over it.
you did. Did you
Yeah.
paint over with a gray? Yeah. I know, it's so funny. I wasn't crazy about the blue, but I added a little bit of gray on top of it, and it's okay to change your mind, right? It's all about just because for me in the picture, I saw that there was a shade, but it wasn't a gray to me. It had a little bit of a color to it. And sometimes you have to just mix some colors and experiment figure out what works and what doesn't. And that's all good. But thank you for sharing. I always love hearing what others are playing with here. And a little water helps tremendously with blending some of these layers. And I might put a little bit of since this ghost here is, I'm going to put a little bit, since this ghost is kind of turning, I'm just going to put a little bit of this darker color on the interior of its face and just kind of blend it out with my finger and my brush a little bit. See, I'm creating shading because this ghost is really leaning into his buddy. He's really scared for some reason. I haven't figured that out yet. But this is a little shading on my right ghost on the left side of its head. And I'm using my finger with a little water on my brush just to create a little bit of that shading there. And I promise we'll put their faces on soon, but this is all just refinement on the shading pieces. And maybe on the top of this ghost's hand on the right is a little bit of shading, maybe on the underside. Because the face is really the last step, and we'll put a couple of rosy cheeks on these ghosts too. And we'll put a little bit of shading around their faces, but you can see the progress, right, of these ghosts and how the colors have changed and how we've added the shaded areas. So fun. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at all of you and check in. Perfect. All right. How's this going for everyone? Does anybody want to show off how the shading? Lori's like, I'm giving it a shot, Megan. Oh, nice. Really good. Leslie, awesome. Oh, I love it. Some people did faces already. So fun. Excellent job. Lori, it looks really good. There's Marie's. You ladies are doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. You're adding in these shaded areas. Then you can use the white on top of the shaded areas just to make sure you have those white pleats standing out again. Look at Marie's. Marie, your ghosts are dancing. I don't think they're scared. Who else thinks Marie's are dancing? They're definitely dancing, Marie. Oh my gosh. I love this. Okay, there's Sharon's. Sharon, your ghosts don't have face yet, but they seem happier than mine. I don't know why. So cute. Sharon, did you paint a moon in the top corner? Oh, so pretty. Sharon, you did a great job with your shading. All right, Bridget, hold it up a little higher. Oh, Bridget, nice job. Bridget, your ghosts are like perfect silhouettes of one another. Was that like perfectly planned or what? No. And there's Wendy. Oh, Wendy, your ghosts look good too. Awesome. Wendy, if that shading is too dark, you can always soften it just a little bit, like if it stands out too much. But I think the layering looks perfect. Perfect. So everyone's working on theirs. I love it. You're all on pace. And you're doing such a good job. I'll give everyone a solid 2 more minutes to play with the layering. If anyone wants to add the eyes and the mouth with me, you can. You can do this at any point. You're just going to use a tiny brush. And I'm going to use black. And I'll do some more shading around the eyes and the nose. So use the smallest brush you have with a little bit. And these eyes can be anything you want. So I'll do this, I'll call it a simple ghost on the right. This is like rounded eyes and a rounded nose. And the one on the left is a little more spooky looking. Oh, here comes Cindy. And your eyes can be even, they can be uneven, whatever you want. I'm going to,
Megan?
yes. Yes, I can hear you.
Minute.
Was there a
I'm not
question?
unmute. Isn't that where I go to? I mute.
Oh, here we go. Oh, Cindy joined. All right, Cindy. Perfect. If anyone has any questions, feel free to chime in. And then this ghost is like a little bit more of like it's more of an oval versus a circle for a mouth. And I might make it a little longer. And if you don't like your ghost's mouth or eyes, let it dry. And this is again, white paint. White paint, you can always reshape something. So there's one ghost. And then I'm going to do the spooky eyes and the spooky mouth for the other one because it's kind of fun. I'm just going to turn it towards me. So apologies for a minute here. But the ghost on the left it's a little smaller on the top and the eyes get a little bit bigger. It's a little funky. Does not look like an eye to me, but we're going to roll with it here for a minute. It's very spooky looking. I'm probably going to reshape these with a little bit of white. And then I'm going to do an ooh mouth. Long. They're very different ghosts. Very different.
Megan,
Yes.
this is Cindy. I was on earlier, but I had to get off. Is there a way you can send me a link to?
Yes. So
Later.
Cindy, send me your email as a private message down below and I will email you the recording.
How do I do that?
There is a chat window at the bottom of the screen.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
you can do where it says to, you can select my name in the chat. So it only comes to me, or you can post it publicly. That's fine too. There we
Okay, I found you.
Either way, but just send me your email. There's many others that want this recording, but I'll make sure I
Okay.
get it to you.
And I'll put my email in there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Uh.
You can catch up in your own time. So I have one ghost with like one kind of face, and then I have another ghost with the other. I don't know what's happening, but it's very spooky. So we're gonna roll with that. I'm kind of torn if I want to make them the same mouths or not. I think I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna be courageous again. And if I don't like it, ladies, I can always change it. So I'm going to make these eyes a little taller, like they're both really kind of like the creepier style ghost eyes. Oh, see, for me, that's better. I matched their faces. Again, I'm more happy with that. I might reshape this mouth over here with a little bit of white, but for me, they're related now. They're not just friends, but they're related. You can always use your black paint while you have it, just to kind of outline the bottom of the ghost and the dress if you want it to just be a little more crisp, like the skirt. If you want it to be a little more crisp on the bottom, you can use a little bit of black paint to do that. It's a really helpful tip. Nice and clean and crisp. This is like a pro tip because it will kind of cover all of your blemishes. Cleans things up a little bit. Nice. And now the bottom of those skirts look nice and clean. And you could always do the same thing with the edges of the ghost. Like if the edges of the ghost here, mine's a little like, it's not straight by any means. So I could use this to kind of give it a clean line. Or a little more of a straighter line on the side if I wanted to. So there's a lot of things you can do for touch-ups and cleanups with a little bit of black paint on your small brush. I'm just outlining my ghosts so it's nice and clean and clear. Let's see here. How's my other one doing? It is not perfect, so I can come in here with a little bit of black paint and just refine the edge here. Taking our time. There we go. You can see all the way around, it's fairly crisp. Now, one ghost has a trick-or-treat bag. That's pretty exciting. Some of you might be inspired to like add little pumpkins, maybe down here on the bottom. That could be a great addition. I am going to do a trick-or-treat bag. My white isn't dry yet on my ghost, so I'm going to give it a minute. But we're doing great on time. We're at 6:20 Eastern Standard Time. You can use white paint if you're black on your eyes or your mouth is dry. You could use white paint to kind of fix the mouth a little bit or reshape the eyes. This might take a couple coats, but for me, I'm just going to reshape this mouth just a little bit. If anybody wants to get a little spooky and put a little white dot in the interior of these ghosts, not sure if I like it or not yet, but you could always put a little white dot inside the eyes if you really want to bring your ghosts to life. I think it's kind of fun, but if I decide I don't like it, I can always erase it, right, by putting it up. But you might have other ideas. You might want to put like a necklace on your ghost. You might want them to be holding a pumpkin, maybe. You could do like a pumpkin trick-or-treat basket. I have orange ready to go, but if you wanted to do a trick-or-treat basket or bag with me, you could. I might do like a little pumpkin basket. This actually says trick-or-treat on it, which is really cute. You can kind of choose what you want. Let's see here. Do I want to do a bag? I kind of like the trick-or-treat words. All right, I'm going to do the bag because I like the trick-or-treat words. I don't think I could put trick-or-treat on a pumpkin. Pumpkin would be a little small. So once it's like fairly dry, the trick-or-treat bag is like kind of in between in the middle of these ghosts. So if I drew a rectangle, that would be my trick-or-treat bag. And I'm going to use the smallest brush I have. If you wanted to use like a 2 or a 3, that would be okay too. But the trick-or-treat bag is going to be right in the middle and it's going to be overlapping both of these ghosts. And I'm just going to do a rectangle. And this is going to paint over some of your work. So if you don't want to do this, you don't have to, but I'm just going to fill this in all orange. It might require 2 coats, but that's okay. And then the trick-or-treat bag is I'll fill this in first, and then I'll show you how it loops around the ghost's arm. It's definitely going to need 2 coats. I could even use like a little bit of white to kind of help cover up some of this base. The white really helps stand on top of other colors. So I'm going to do a big trick-or-treat bag right here. I like the idea of writing trick-or-treat. So we basically want to do a thin coat of a color. I did like an orange and a light orange because I just want that white to kind of stick on this. And I might need to, I'll definitely do a second coat, but once I have this first coat on, we'll do the handle on top. And then you can maybe switch and work on something else. We'll do maybe rosy cheeks or something on our ghosts with a little orange. So the handle, I'm gonna let my trick or treat bag dry. The handle comes up on top of the ghost's arm, kind of like where they meet right here. Comes on top and it goes over to the edge. And it goes on the underside over here. So it goes on the underside like that. And I'll make this a brighter orange, but this is just to get a coat on to let it dry first. And I'll make a little darker. You can even use a little bit of red. If you want your bag to stand out, you could use a little bit of red to get the coloring on. That works too. But these are all the final details. So anything, everybody, you might be working on something different than me. That's okay. I'm trying to be patient to let this dry. Some areas it's sticking, some area it's not. Where it's not sticking, I'm going to try to leave that alone. There are like little tiny orange rosy cheeks next to the mouth, kind of under the eyes. If anybody wants to try this, I'm going to try it. I'm going to be brave. There's kind of like little circles, soft little circles. I just did this with the tip of the brush, just a little bit. And I might even use a little water, not dripping water, but just a wet brush. Just to just swirl this around just a little bit. If you don't like this, I'll bring it a little closer. Just a little, it's a little flush for their face. And if you even want to put a little bit of white on top of this to have it not be so, you know, stand out so much, you could always soften it a little bit. I'm just putting a little white on top just so it doesn't stand out too much. But you can still see there's some rosy cheeks happening. There we go. You can see it when I bring it a little closer. Just a little color for their cheeks. It's a little bit of white and a soft orange. Bring it a little closer again. Just a little white. A little bit of a soft orange. You can do as much or as little as you wish. You kind of blend it around. Just a cute little detail. And you can see my trick or treat bag is drying. I'm going to make some more orange, ladies and gents, because I am almost out. Many of you almost might be done. If there's any other details you need my help with, please do not hesitate to ask. I'm super excited to see your work. As you're working on final touches, do not hesitate. Make sure you click on the link if you want to share your work with me. There's a Google Drive folder listed in the chat. I'd love to see your work after tonight's class. So again, optional. I love sharing it with our AARP friends, and it's always fun seeing how everybody does after class too. And we can use that folder moving forward if folks are interested to share your work. And you can put your name as the title, or you could just leave yourself anonymous if you don't want to tell us who you are. It's okay too. But you can rename the file for it to be your name if you wanted to. But I won't ask you to do that if you don't want to. You could also give yourself a nickname and be mysterious. So I'm painting my bag. I'm trying to do some sharp, like edged corners. So it's like a true, I want it to be a little rectangular on the bottom. Trying, requires a little patience. A little bit of a still hand. But this trick or treat bag might take a hot minute here, and that's all right.
Hey,
I
Megan,
wanted to add it. Yes, go ahead.
my ghost came out too high.
Okay.
Like, so if I want to put like, see, they're like up in the air. Like,
Hang
so
on. I'm
I
gonna
wanna
remove my
put-
spotlight so I can see it. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so where am I? Here I am. So if I want to put something down at the bottom, that I don't want the pumpkins to also look like they're flying,
Totally, yeah.
how would
So
I make like
You could,
ground
you
or
could do,
something?
I
or-
love this. You could do a path. You could put the ghosts on a path and do like a winding path. Or you could put them like on a road. So I'll draw you some options. Let me grab a piece of
Okay.
paper. Hold
Thank
on one
you.
second. Let me grab you a piece of paper and I'll draw you a couple options for you to consider.
Okay.
Okay. So. I'm gonna grab a Sharpie and I'll draw you a couple options. If anybody has even any extra space below and wants to do something down there, there's so many things you can do. So I'm gonna move this over here and I will, I'll draw you two options. Okay. So, one option could be option one. Your ghosts are here, right? And they have legs and they're kind of floating. You could do ground underneath them like this, and you could do kind of like a winding path like this, and you could do like a checkered path. And then you could maybe do like a pumpkin here, and you
Can
could
you
do like,
spotlight yourself so we can see what you're drawing?
of course.
Sorry.
No, you're right. I'm sorry. Let's see. Thank you. All right. So these are ghosts right here. You could do like a ground underneath them. And then if you wanted to do like a path like this, you could do a path kind of winding down. So like if this is a path. And then you could maybe put a pumpkin here or here. You could put some like grass. You could do a path like that, which is kind of cute. Another idea is if you have ghosts, these are terrible ghosts. I'm so sorry. Ooh, that's like a really big ghost. You could also do a ground, and you could I like that you have a path. You could do like a different road. You could do a road kind of coming out like this. So you could either do like a winding path, which you could do like browns, and then you could do pumpkins. You could also line this with pumpkins. So you could do smaller pumpkins in the distance and then do bigger pumpkins kind of closer to you. That could be really cute. Kind of pumpkins lining the path. You could also do like a couple pumpkins in the foreground too. Like a couple smaller pumpkins and a couple bigger pumpkins and just layer them in. Kind of like maybe they're in a pumpkin patch. That could be kind of cute with like some swirling vines and things. So you can kind of play with it a little bit. I mean, there's a lot of different types of Halloween scenes. You could get really creative and you could do, you could put like a haunted house or something behind them. And put them on like standing on somebody's front porch, and do like Halloween decorations around them. Let me know if you want me to draw that, but maybe that gives you some ideas.
No, I'm good. I like the path thing because right now they're just kind of like floating in the middle of my
Totally.
picture.
And that's like, I feel like it happens to about like every other person around like placement of your ghosts. So no big deal. And anyone, I'll spotlight mine for another minute. Perfect. Anyone can put ground. If you wanted to put like a ground underneath them, you could. Absolutely could.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So some of you might have to go soon. Absolutely. Stella, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you joining us. I'm just working on my trick or treat bag and then I'm done. I'm being patient, kind of letting my bag dry. But if anyone needs help with anything else as you're working on final details, that is why I'm here. So please let me know how I can help you with any finishing touches on your end. But for me, I'm mixing a little bit more orange for my trick or treat bag. And then once it's dry, I'll write trick or treat on it. but having a nice solid color bag is important to me. And having nice solid colors. And then it might smudge a little bit. That means it just needs to dry a little bit more. Getting there. I got a couple spots. It's not quite ready yet. This is where sometimes you can rush and push the envelope. Other times you just need to wait for it to dry. Yep, see the spot needs to dry a little bit right here. Just gonna put a little touch of paint right there so it dries. And a little touch right. So I'm gonna let my bag dry for a minute. What I can do as my bag is drying is, I know I want a little bit of a black outline on my bag. So with a tiny brush, I can outline my bag with a little bit of black paint. So my bag stands out. That's important to me. Again, I'm using just the tip of my brush, and I'm also going to do that on the handle too. Now, all of you have brand new brushes, which is awesome. So you should have some nice fine tips for your bags. But for anyone that has to leave, I want to thank you so much for coming, and a big thanks to AARP Vermont for having us today. AARP Vermont is an excellent partner. They have a ton of amazing events and amazing resources available for you. So I encourage you to check out their site if you haven't in a while. They have a lot of things going on. And by outlining this bag with a little bit of black, it allows that to stand out just a little bit. Just a touch.
You have to have an incredibly steady hand for that.
Yes, you do. Yes, ma'am. Not gonna deny that. And I'm not even gonna attempt trick or treat until my bag is dry. But my shoes need another coat of orange. Imagine that. Imagine that. I feel like they're like sharing this Halloween trick or treat bag too. All right. But I'm here to help if anyone has any questions. Don't hesitate to ask. Mixing a little white with orange really helps it set. I should be doing more of the white. It just helps stick over the black. What did y'all think about painting on a black canvas tonight? We don't do it that often, but I thought it was a fun change, but I'm open to your feedback there.
I enjoyed it.
Oh,
Me
good.
too.
Folks really liked it. Awesome.
I do too. I do too. I'm so untalented, but I love this so much. So
Oh, yay.
thank you.
Oh, you're
And
so welcome. I'm so glad you're here trying.
Well, my granddaughter is going to enjoy this no matter how bad it is. So it will be it will be appreciated.
I
Okay.
love it. I love it. Well, you could
I
write.
know, but here's what I got.
All right, cool. I'm going to remove the spotlight. If anyone wants to flip their work around, we'd love to see it. Oh, awesome. Oh, you put a Halloween face. Oh, you did the bucket. Nice job, Marie.
Thank you.
Amazing. Marie, you did great with your layering and your shadows. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're
Oh,
so
that's
welcome.
beautiful.
Very well done. All right, there's Miss Wendy's. Wendy's, yours looks great. Sharon, excellent job on your layering.
It's going in the trash now. There we go.
Oh, gosh. Oh, gosh. All right, Gail, well done. Oh, Miss Jean's gonna come on. All right. Oh, Miss Jean put a big pumpkin in. All right, Miss Jean, that looks
Nice.
great. There's Miss Patty and Lori's. Awesome. Lori, you can bring in a little more white in between those shading if you want.
Yeah. I was waiting for
But your
it to
shading's
dry.
good though.
Yeah. So yeah.
Leslie, look at those tights. Those ghosts are happy. Look at those tights. Are they knee socks? I don't know.
I messed up the cheeks and the arms, so I'm gonna redo those.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even notice. See, that's the glory of white paint, isn't it?
I
All
gotta
right.
go. See you later.
Thank you, Wendy, for joining. Take care. Thank you for joining. All right. Sharon, thanks so much. Here's Miss Bridget. Miss Bridget, how's it going? Sharon, thank you. Bridget went for the letters already. Way to go, Bridget. All right. All right, here comes Miss Renee. Nice. Renee, your ghosts look awesome. I love it how some ghosts, like mine, are so different. One's a little chubbier, one's a little taller.
Yeah, you can't see because let me take my background off. My favorite part are the shoes. That's the only part I'm
Oh,
happy
I didn't
with.
even see your shoes.
Hold on, because I have a background. Hold on. let
Oh,
me see.
Sonia has a big and a little, and they're happy and they're dancing and swinging candy around Sonia. That's what I see. So fun.
Let's see if you could see.
All
my
right, Renee,
shoes.
let's see your shoes.
I put laces on my shoes.
Oh, yes. I love your laces. That's a great idea. I should add laces to mine too.
I wanted
Sonia, I
my
love
heels,
yours.
but I don't know how to
Nailed
make
it.
them. so.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna be brave and do my trick or treat. Thank you everyone for sharing. It's always so fun to see how everyone progresses and they're all so different.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining. If anyone has to drop off, I totally understand. I would love to see you all next month. If anyone has any questions or needs anything, all my contact info is right on this piece of paper. So please
Are
do
we
not
also-
ever hesitate to reach out if you need
We
anything.
already have the link for the next one. I think so, right?
I believe it was posted. I heard from
Yeah, I
someone it
think
was
I'm already
posted.
on it. I'll look at my calendar, but not
Yeah.
December. Did you do November or just December? I mean, November. December
The
yet, or
dates
no?
are set. I'm not sure if December is posted yet.
Okay, I'm gonna look. Let's see.
I signed up for November, but I haven't seen anything for December yet.
Okay.
Okay.
December may not be posted. The dates for December are the 8th and the 11th for awareness. The 5th and the, 5 p.m. on the 8th and 3 p.m. on the 11th. So
The
again,
8th and the
Thursdays and
11th,
Sundays.
okay.
And you all should, as soon as it's available, you all can sign up.
Yeah, they go quick. We gotta jump on it. That's the thing.
They do, they sell out, yes. And if anyone ever can't get in and you still want to join with your own supplies, send me an email and I'm happy to send you the Zoom information.
Awesome.
Absolutely. All right, so I'm gonna attempt trick or treat here with my smallest brush. If anyone needs help with any refinements, do not hesitate to ask. Oh boy.
So Megan, while you're concentrating,
Yeah,
you sent me for some reason too many kits, like I don't know how, so I hope you don't mind, but I gave them to friends who happened to be on today, but they weren't registered, so I don't know if that matters, but my son and
Oh.
I each ordered one, and in each envelope there was two.
oh, so maybe you showed up twice on the registration.
Yeah, but I didn't want to waste, so I did, my friend Michelle is on today, Michelle
Oh,
Mitchell, say
yay.
hi, Michelle. And I gave it to my neighbor who's gonna join you on Sunday.
Oh,
She
so
actually
good.
had registered but never got her project, so she's gonna use mine.
Oh, good. Yeah, there was 3 or 4 people that were gonna get theirs late this month because I had a shipping problem from both of those classes. So I'm so glad you're able to repurpose those. So
No,
thank
me
you for doing
too. AARP, this doesn't affect you, but they changed their sign up. So I used to sign me up and my son would sign up under his. And now we can't because we're both members under the same account.
that. Oh,
So I
got
have
it.
to sign him up as a guest. It just
Okay.
gets really confusing. So for me, I'll shoot you an email and say, I only need 2, no matter how many show up.
Okay, sounds good. I'll make sure that I always count you in for 2 then, as long as you're on the list. Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate that.
No problem. Yeah.
Love it. Perfect.
Michelle Mitchell, are you still there?